commemorate something. And all of those that have worked here are very familiar with my overused quote, but it's overused because it's my favorite quote and it's absolutely true. And that is, it's the old quote from Edmund Burke, 17th century British philosopher, writer, you name it, that the only thing necessary for the triumph of evil is for good men to do nothing. And today we're kind of celebrating some folks who decided to do something and who make that their business every day. And to do that, I need to introduce someone, again, not to the folks necessarily that work here every day, but to the group, that someone that really doesn't like long drawn out introductions, so we'll try to keep it from being that. But the U.S. Attorney for the Northern District is Scott Leary. And unlike a lot of districts, thank you for your applause, hold it till the end. Unlike a lot of districts, we don't have a political appointee here so much as we have a real prosecutor who's been doing the job I've been doing it for 30 years, and he was a prosecutor at the Attorney General's office in Jackson when I was an intern there, still in law school. So I won't say how long he's been doing it, but he's been doing it a minute. And he's been doing it at a very high level, and I'm kind of excited for him to be given this award because he's someone that has worked these precise kinds of cases. He's worked big cases, keeping drugs out of our communities, and we're kind of lucky to have him in that slot. So without further ado, Mr. Leary.
Yeah, thank you. This is about our recipients. We take this serious. Look at this room. We take this serious. And let's just pay a little tribute here. We had a guy I worked with that I was crazy about named Eric Lentz. And he was my favorite Yankee. He was from New York City. I mean, the guts of New York City. And came down here to Mississippi, and he was hilarious and a great investigator. And he was involved in Willie Beat 1. He died in a motorcycle accident. And I would just like to pay tribute to Eric Lentz right now. Eric, if you're listening to us, good job, buddy. And I appreciate Hernando, Mr. Lamphere, Mr. Ellis. We got DEA here. And we got, we got Sheriff's Department here. Yeah, thank y'all. Good, thank y'all. So we're blessed to be able to work with our state and locals, right? So I know DEA will tell you that they can't do this without the locals, and because we just don't have enough folks. And I know Mr. Rayner, Mr. DeSoto would sit here and say, absolutely, this is what we've got to have. And so in this particular case, that's what we have. And so we honor you guys here. This was, 19 defendants convicted, $150,000. I think we got 25 kilos, but they were responsible for so much more, right? They're responsible for so much more. And when these cases work out, it's such a beautiful thing. It just makes, I love it, because you're on a wire and you start down this road, right? And you kind of have an idea who your bad guys are, right? So, Jeremiah, you know how this goes. Going down the line and you start identifying this guy, you start identifying this guy, you start conducting surveillance, right? You get Willie, Brother Markway, good job, right? Josh, good job. I worked with Josh on another big case. You're a great testifier, by the way. I will give you that. We got ready for trial, then I got him on there, and defense attorney started bearing down on him, and Josh just went boom, 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 boom. No, as a matter of fact, that's not what it was. No, as a matter of fact, he was conducting reverse surveillance on us and driving through looking for law enforcement. I'll always remember that. Counter surveillance, and he was trying to take him off the mark. Good job, I'll always remember that. Josh has been my friend forever, and he's the gold standard. We know that. and I actually had a big vacation. Okay, that's what this is. And Josh Bryant, Josh Markway, we did this. It was a good job, and it's important for us. That's why we've got everybody here. And congratulations on that. I mean it from the heart. That I love this when we're working together. I mean.
All right, so I'm Sam Stringfellow. I'm an AUSA here who worked with these three fine gentlemen. So when this is our first year to do this award, and when we got, the notice, hey, if you have any cases you want to submit, let us know. And immediately I thought of these three guys because I think it was 2021, 2022 is when the case started, where it was basically a tip that, hey, there's this guy selling kilos of cocaine. And so being the good investigators they are, they spent about 2 years pulling his trash, doing surveillance, waiting for a chance for a break, basically. Eventually they got the break, they did wiretaps, and it's, I don't like, they got a bunch of dope off the street, kept the community safe, all that, but the way they went about handling their business, they were true professionals in every sense of the word. And I don't know. I did not prepare any remarks, obviously. What I do want to say is these are good men. They worked like hell. They made my life easier. I'm not an easy prosecutor to deal with. I sent probably 1,000 emails to Josh Bryant and Josh Moore in like a week period of time. Hey, where's this report? Hey, where's this report? Like, you already have that report, idiot. But at the end of the day, the case, the award is for a specific case, but to me, it was more about all the cases these guys do. When they call me, I know it's going to be a good case. I trust them. We have a good working relationship, and again, they're just good dudes. So, very happy for them. And then I want to introduce Miss Julie Addison.
Hey.
She's gonna.
All right, so Sam brought me, I didn't have a hand in all of that awesome investigation. It was for trial prep. So my 2 cents about that is just that you heard how early in time this investigation was, 2021, 2022. We were prepping for this trial this year in 2026. And so many times in my experience, you've got such a long gap that these guys have gone and investigated dozens of defendants since that time, and it's hard to get sucked back in. But the case isn't over. Back this like second wave is just kind of starting because they're not convicted, and we got to get there. And these three went above and beyond. All those emails Sam talking about sending them, they may have been calling him an idiot, but it wasn't to their face. They immediately jumped in. They were willing to go above and beyond to answer all those questions, all the time that we ask of them to invest in the trial preparation. They were there, they were doing it, and it just wasn't like pulling teeth like you can get on occasion, because they were focused in on it and they saw the mission. And we just are fortunate to have you be able to do that and jump back in. We appreciate it. Y'all are exceptional. So thank you.
All right, so we're going to start with Tall Josh.
I'm going to say one thing while I'm standing up here. I ain't much on speeches, so it's going to be real short, but I appreciate you guys too. So, most everybody's a prosecutor knows we, anyway, so takedown days are always the worst. Like, things never ever go as planned, ever. We had to do these op plans where we look in our crystal ball and tell the ASAC, like, this is what all's going to happen. That way they'll approve us to do something. And down day, I remember this one because, like, the night before, Josh, number one, as I call him, called me and said, oh my gosh, he's getting the kilos out of the roof or something or other. He had already got one or two, before anybody realized it, because it was late and, whoever was supposed to be watching the poll camera was probably asleep. And So I got up early the next morning and I start calling somebody. I kind of think it was Miss King and Sam probably. And anyway, so we start early, like I'm sure before daylight, banging out a warrant, you know, to search like 2 or 3 different places. And then thankfully I had Don Douglas kind of coordinating everybody else to run up to DeSoto County while I sat here and missed out on all the fun because I was typing the warrant the whole time. So it was all our partners in DeSoto County and Hernando and on the task force with us that went up there and actually did the work to arrest Willie and take all that down. And then of course with working with the prosecutors here and getting all our I's dotted and T's crossed, you know, so that we can send him to prison hopefully, you know, for good for a while along with everybody else. So anyway, thank y'all.
Thank you.
We'll go to Josh number 1 next. So I do want to point out that, again, 2 years, it's not the glamorous work of these DEA cases where they're just sitting around, who's this car, what's that car? You know, they're trying to corroborate every little bit of information that comes in. But when you're prepping for trial and you're going through all that and you're sitting with these guys and you're like, hey, who was this again? What was this? And they just can rattle that off. It's very impressive and it speaks to how hard they work and especially Josh number 1's professionalism. So, woo!
Guys, I'll say something real quick too. We obviously don't expect this with what we do, but it means a lot coming from this office. It's the finest group of prosecutors that I've worked with, so this goes to the prosecutors also, in the case of everybody that I've worked with. So could have done it without y'all. Thank you.
All right, so last but not least, Markway. So Markway was actually the one who got the informant that kind of broke the case open where we were able to get wiretaps and get dope off the street. But I do want to say, so when we're preparing to indict, I was looking at it, I was like, all right, guys, so who, you know, out of the 3 of y'all can testify that hasn't really written any reports and, you know, someone's going to testify in grand jury, it'll take about this long. And I was like, now the pro guys is if you testify in grand jury, you're probably not going to have to testify at trial. So Markway was gracious enough to volunteer and have to prep with me for all that. And then I pulled a fast one on him and said, okay, now Markway, you're going to have to testify at trial. Markway, again, utmost professional. Enjoyed working with you.
Yeah, I was thinking about it.
He said he wanted to whisper what he wanted to say.
I didn't do that much in this case. This was the Josh squared. I just leaned on them. They were outstanding. I was just doing the grunt work, but I appreciate you guys for bringing this. Thank you.
I forgot to mention this too. Almost every single criminal AUSA in this office has helped on this case. This was a total team effort. Whether it was police, Parker doing all the warrants, the T3 affidavits, all the investigative stuff, sentencings, and so I obviously really appreciated all the help. So thank y'all.
Okay. Second thing I want to loop on. Cases aren't over when we indict, right? So Chairman Rainer, you know, right? And it's like halfway through. And when we get ready for trial, quite often we will shut investigators down for several months getting ready for trial. Just as Stringfellow said, okay, man, give me this. I'm giving it to you already. Yeah, I know it, but just give it to me. And next thing you know, they're over here. We're going over. Now, what happened here? Now, what happened here? Over and over. Now, where's this? Where's this? And we shut them down. And that also is indicative of a gold standard in investigators because they get that this case isn't over yet, that we got to get it over the finish line. We got to drag it over. And these guys did it. And that is so valuable to us, right? So thank y'all again. Thank y'all again. And I don't know what else to say. I think we're concluded in our awards ceremony. Thanks.